Hey everyone, we're Red Donkey Projections. I'm Eric and we have Lucas as always.
Hey everyone.
We're going to do a bit of a different video today and explain why New York is not going to Donald Trump. We'll be looking at New York City and other counties. This might be a silly video, but some commenters do think that somehow Donald Trump will go to New York. And that is
Um,
just
that's right. For most of you, this should be a pretty obvious thing that New York is not going red anytime soon. But we are getting comments saying that New York will go red, and the president himself has said that he can win New York. Let's discuss why that's not going to happen. We're gonna do our best to keep this video as serious as possible, but New York is not going red. Let's make that clear right now. And with that being said, let's get right into it. All right, let's get started here. Let's explain New York in a nutshell. New York is weird in that upstate New York is pretty conservative. You have outlier cities like Buffalo that is more liberal. And in New York, you also have New York City. It is extremely, extremely Democratic. And when I say extremely Democratic, I mean it. Hillary won some of these boroughs here by high 80. I'm meaning 88%, 86%. Oh, sorry. Didn't win them by, but she won in like 88%, 86% of the vote.
Yeah, the thing is, you can see that those counties that Hillary Clinton won, on the peninsula, they're very small, like very small. And that implies that like they're very, very populated. Like look at Manhattan, Brooklyn, Bronx compared to like, I don't know, Erie County in upstate New York. And in general, all the counties in upstate New York are bigger, which implies that there's not much of a population. And in general, upstate New York is more of an agricultural, more rural area for the most part. Yes, there are some big cities, but a lot of the like mid New York is pretty rural. And using a it's more conservative in the rural area.
Yeah,
Which is,
and suburbs too. Yeah.
yeah.
So let's discuss New York City right now. Staten Island, I agree. It is pretty Republican. A lot of suburbs here. I agree with that. But out of the other boroughs, let me actually name them all right now. The 5 boroughs are Staten Island, Brooklyn, the Bronx, the Queens,
Manhattan.
and Manhattan. Those are your 5 boroughs. So one of the 5, Staten Island, is pretty Republican. And I'll be honest here, although Staten Island's Republican, they are not as populated held relative to the other 4 boroughs. Here's how we know that. The New York City Council is essentially the city council of New York. Well, that was kind of self-explanatory. There are 51 total seats. Staten Island gets 3. 3 out of 51. That goes to show how small and how unimportant. Well, I don't want to use the word unimportant, but it's not that significant. It's not going to be a game changer compared to like the other New York City boroughs. New York City in general, in total, is about 8.3 million people. 8.3 million people live here. That is a lot. And there are a lot of voters here as well. So why is New York City so Democratic? First of all, it's a city. A lot of urban areas do tend to be pretty Democratic. And second of all, there are tons of minorities here.
Yes.
You have 26% Hispanics, 26% of African Americans, and 13% of Asian Americans. That's pretty huge compared to the national average.
Mm-hmm.
So a lot of minorities do tend to vote for the Democratic candidate, and that's why we usually see New York City almost always voting for the Democratic candidate.
The last time New York City or New York in general went to a Republican was Ronald Reagan in 1984, and we all know that was a huge landslide. And every single time from then, New York has been very Democratic.
1984 truly was a huge, huge outlier. You had a very popular incumbent, Ronald Reagan, against Walter Mondale, the former vice president. So New York did flip that one time. Ever since that, always been Democratic. So that's New York City. New York City, I believe there was about 1.7 million votes total casted for Hillary Clinton in New York City alone, out of the 4,000 votes. And yes, you're correct. New York City alone is not going to give Hillary Clinton the victory, but it gives a huge, huge boost for this. Suffolk County, I have it highlighted right here, red. And the reason why I have it red is because, yes, it did vote for Trump, but in a pretty narrow margin.
Obama did take this in 2008.
Yeah, he did take this. Suffolk County, even though it went to Trump, Clinton got a lot of votes from this, about 350,000, added on top of the New York City vote. Everything just built up and up and up. Westchester County, another county. I put it in light blue, but it technically should be dark blue because it is pretty safe as well. Westchester County, also a huge population here as well. And it's not just like, downstate New York or, it's not just like downstate New York, but it's also, there are some counties in upstate New York that do tend to vote for the Democrat as well. For example, Erie County. You have here the city of Buffalo.
Mm-hmm.
Buffalo is actually surprisingly the second most populated city in New York. And I say surprisingly because New York City is 8.3 million. Buffalo, how much was Buffalo again? What's the population of Buffalo, Eric?
I think it's about 200,000, 200 to 300,000.
Wow. That is a lot smaller than New York City. But still, Erie County, it was a lean for Hillary Clinton, but it still went to her in, again, it doesn't matter the margins. It's those numbers, those voters that matter. Because you already have such a strong boost from New York City. You just need other, as Eric put it, supplemental counties to officially get the majority, which the Democrats do have here. And these are just two examples of counties in upstate New York. There are plenty of counties in upstate New York. I don't want to say plenty, but there are a handful that allows there to be enough for Secretary Clinton or any Democrat for that matter to win New York. So that's the geography of New York explained.
And the reason why Buffalo, one more point. And the reason why Buffalo actually is a pretty Democratic city out of New York City is because they actually also are pretty diverse. They have like a 36% African-American population. And they're, as Lucas said, there are a lot of, even though New York is pretty suburban, rural, there are a few cities or counties here and there that are moderately Democratic. They're not, as Democratic as New York City, but they're definitely not as Republican as, somewhere in Nebraska or in the middle of the country. It's still New York.
So yes, this is why New York will not be going to Donald Trump anytime soon. Yes, he is from the state. And technically, his home state actually is Florida now. But there is zero chance that New York will go to Donald Trump. Absolutely zero.
Okay, let's be generous. 0.1% chance.
0.0001. There you go.
Fine.
But let's, just for fun, let's look at polls, because why not? 24%. You can say in the comments all you want that the polls are wrong, but if you're leading 25% in the polls, I don't think that if this poll was quote-unquote wrong, you can't be wrong by 25%. Because
look at this. Like, no, Donald Trump is not winning New York.
Right. So
geography support.
This was a very silly video, but we thought we needed to make it because, one, the president says he thinks he has a chance at New York. He does not. And second, people do think that Trump will win New York. And to that point, he will not.
Yep.
And that's the end of the video for today. Thank you all so much for watching. If you like this episode, please hit the like button. And if you like our content, please hit subscribe. We'll see you in our next episode tomorrow.
See ya.